Lois Lane gets married to men who aren't Superman. It's once more time to return to this playlist. It's one of my favorite playlists on this channel. This one sort of plays with the formula a little bit, sort of, in terms of who's manipulating who and who's doing what. I'm Sash, this is Casually Comics, and it's time to take a look at a jilted Superman. This story comes from Showcase number 10. In this case, Showcase presents Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane. And you know if we're doing that, there's gotta be at least one trying to marry Superman story. Showcase was a magazine that did just what its title implied. It was largely a tryout series for new characters and concepts. And this issue did come out before the first issue of Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, which debuted in 1958, whereas Showcase number 10 is from 1957. Although, thanks to the George Reeves Superman show, side characters like Jimmy and Lois had ballooned in popularity. And Jimmy already had his own comic series, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, so the waters were already primed, but this could still have been a test. If so, that would mean that the first conceptual issue for this series starts with Lois trying to trick Superman into marrying her. It's a staple. Now, the story itself is called The Jilting of Superman. It's more active. It was written by Otto Binder, with art by Wayne Boring and inks by Stan Kay. I posted the teaser page because it's just such a classic when it comes to stories like this in terms of what's going on. You have Superman as the best man. You gotta choke inside of the thought balloon. Thanks for being the best man, Superman. I'm Mrs. Lois Lester now. Well, aren't you gonna kiss the bride?
Yes, I guess so, Lois. Gosh, I never thought Lois would turn from me and marry another man. I've lost her.
Choke. They put that in just so you really get how he's feeling. Like how people add LOL to everything. Or at least people like me add LOL to everything. Look at the people staring at him at this wedding. He's set up for maximum humiliation. So just what's happening in this outing? Lois goes on a TV quiz show, which based on the wall is something to do with newlywed couples. So I'm not even sure if she should qualify to be there, or maybe they're just doing the prize for this episode. Those kind of details are not what's gonna matter. What does matter is that she wins the ultimate jackpot. It's a question about Superman, so of course she wins.
You win the Newlywed Homes Inc. jackpot, this dream cottage in the suburbs, but there is one condition, Miss Lane. Are you in love with a man?
I feel like we should have asked these types of questions before the prize was given. Yes. Look, even her fantasy has broken hearts around it. Oh, Superman, gazing off into the middle distance, ignoring me. What a man.
Good, if you marry him within 10 days, you can move into the dream house. Otherwise, you must take the consolation prize.
Oh, we'll see what the consolation prize is at the end, by the way, and it is quite the step down. Oh goodness, I've been trying to marry Superman for years without success. This main prize, though, it feels like something that could be exploited or either something that's gonna get them into trouble in some way. Leaving, Lois confides in the girlfriend from the Daily Planet office. Oh, Millie, I won't win the cottage. I'd be lucky to become Mrs. Superman in 10 years, let alone 10 short days. You should do what I did to get my husband John propose. Make him jealous. I pretended I was married to another man. John was so shocked he admitted he loved me. When he found out I was still single, he was happy to marry me. Oh, I couldn't play a trick like that on Superman.
Okay, nobody should listen to Millie. Run, John, run.
What other tricks does Millie play on John? I also have questions about John. When I found out that the woman I loved was tricking me, I was happy to marry her. So that's what a good marriage is based on, a foundation of lies and deceit. However, Lois is flagged down by a man called Tony Lester. He's someone who she wrote a bit of a puff piece on when he was an up-and-coming celebrity called Handsome Heroes. That was the puff piece's name. And because of that, it kind of catapulted him into further stardom, so he's very grateful. His hair changes color between panels. This irks me. Now, in a stunning turn of events for the Silver Age, Lois is honest with him about what she wants. Lois yields to temptation and... Will you pretend we're married, Tony? I want to play a practical joke on someone. You only have to play the part of my husband for about 5 minutes. Sure. Anything you say, Lois. Swell, Tony. Meet me tomorrow morning outside my office and we'll pretend we eloped. Okay, kinda honest. More honest than usual. At least she's not pretending to be in love with him, I guess. She's still withholding some key details, like about the cottage and also about the man they're about to deceive. That seems like information that Tony should want, but also he didn't ask. Now you're playing it smart, Lois. Superman will get a super shock meeting your husband. Then he'll blurt out his true feelings for you, and you can marry him.
Millie's a menace. Watch out for people like Millie, trying to start all kinds of drama. Is John even real? Have we ever seen John?
Now, Kurt Schaffenberger, who would go on to become the artist, the main artist for Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, and go a long way in creating an expressive and iconic Lois, had thrown some shade at Wayne Boring for his Lois being unexpressive and bland, Boring being the artist who usually drew her before him. But there are some moments here where you can see a more expressive Lois, and it's interesting to see and then contrast if you're familiar with both. But you do get moments like this pining panel where she really does look like she's enraptured in fantasy. Oh, Superman, darling, this 1,000-carat diamond you squeezed out of coal is simply gorgeous.
Nothing's too good for my wife, dear. Now for a flying honeymoon around the world. Then the man and wife of Steel will set up housekeeping.
I actually really like the man and wife of Steel. Superman in this story has just been going around saving lives, living his. He's gonna go to work. He even stops by with a byline to give to Lois. He's not prepared for what is coming.
Hi Lois, got a scoop for you under the byline of Lois Lane.
Lois Lester to you, Superman. Mrs. Lois Lester. Meet my husband, Tony Lester. We just eloped.
Great Scott, you're married? But Lois, I always thought you and I,
Oh, that's all finished, Superman. I fell madly in love with Tony. Well, aren't you gonna kiss the bride? Tony's facial expressions in this are so good. He's just standing back there looking so benign. Those were Tony's instructions. The acting sheets she gave him just look pleasant. Now, Superman is not in jerk mode this issue, which means that he accepts this and decides that he can't show how upset he is on the outside because he doesn't want to ruin things for Lois. He does genuinely care for her. It's the idea that, oh, he thought she would always be waiting. He was taking her for granted. And he manages to maintain this even though she is goading him so hard. See what muscles Tony has? And isn't he handsome? Told you. Handsome. If you've read a lot of these, you'll know that handsome is one of the top criteria for being Lois Lane marriage material.
What does Lois see in him?
We just said he's handsome.
Well, I've lost Lois. Gotta take it with a smile. On the outside, anyway.
Tony and I will move into this dream cottage I want on TV just as soon as they move in the furniture from my apartment. Superman goes above and beyond to prove what a good sport he is. He moves the furniture for them, and he also makes them a wedding gift that's a waterfall that he creates out of the cliff face behind the cottage. So all of this is very impressive, so she has to ignore all of it. And then she delivers the final crushing blow. Help me throw out all this junk I used to keep, Tony.
Junk? They're pictures of me and my souvenirs that Lois used to treasure lovingly.
That is ice cold. Lois is just going all in. There is no thought as to what if this doesn't work. Failure is not an option.
Now I'm out of her life forever. I'll go.
He'll be back when he learns this was all a gag. It was just a prank, bro. Let's get married. Only a person who truly loves you would torment you psychologically like this. Isn't that right, Superman? Now, Tony is allegedly put off by all of this. It's a bit more than he signed up for, even though his expression always remains kind of bland. But he says he has to go to rehearsal, he has to go to work, and this was only supposed to take 5 minutes. This definitely took more than 5 minutes. He was more okay with the idea of this if it wasn't Superman, if it was somebody else, but the Man of Steel? Faster than a speeding bullet? Is that a boast or a threat? Later on set, for if you recall, Tony's an actor. That's why he gave such a stellar loving Lois performance. One of the robots he's working with, it malfunctions, and it's crushing him. It doesn't highlight this, but Superman is there very quick to save him. He got there so fast that made me wonder, is he watching him? Keeping him safe for Lois? That's my headcanon because it adds to the sadness. But since Superman saved him, Tony feels bad, and he can't keep up the ruse. And also, again, it was only supposed to be 5 minutes. This is looking like a lifelong endeavor. Tony was called by that ancient creed, bros before hoes. After a stunned Superman hears the story.
So you didn't marry Lois? It was all a trick to make me want to propose? The little minx.
Gosh, I'm sorry I had any part of it, Superman, and I thought we ought to teach her a lesson. That sounds like a setup that could lead to something else. But what it does lead to is it's something. Superman bursts into the couple's dream home saying that that's it, he's had it, Lois is his. And Tony starts fighting him. And there's a hybrid speech bubble here that's part thought and then speech. And it's just interesting. They did it on the teaser as well, but this one has little bubbles that are kind of breaking it up. I don't know, it stuck out to me. Not so fast, Lois. Hey, the narrator's taking sides. The narrator's bias. Hands off, Superman. You can't have Lois. She belongs to me for always. Tony, what are you saying? That's just what I want. To marry Superman. I don't know if my gulp was loud enough. Hold on. Also, Tony, according to my commenters, Lois belongs to the streets. They get so rough that Lois is forced to flee the home, and that's when the boys really start to have some fun. Now we really go to town, Superman. I'll make it sound as if we're battling man to man.
And after I wreck the furniture, I'll start in the cottage. Yell loud now so Lois hears us outside.
Everything about this doesn't sound how they want it to sound. At least not to my ruined gutter mind. Take that, Superman.
Take that, Tony. Lois is mine, understand?
Superman won't use his full super strength and hurt Tony, of course. But Superman is fighting over me. Oh, I'm so thrilled my plan worked. But suddenly they walk out, arm in arm, or rather arm around arm, side hug, bros.
It's all over. Tony told me he wasn't married to you after all, Lois. That's wonderful. Now I'll marry him.
No, this is the Silver Age. What's happening is that to reward Tony for his honesty, he's got him a part in a movie. It was a boxing movie, and that fight was to test him out. No, they didn't film anything. The source is going to be, I'm Superman. Trust me, bro. And so he sweeps Tony up in his arms, and they fly off to Hollywood. And my cottage, all my furniture wrecked. I see that matrimonial trickery does not pay. Oh, you learned no such thing. Also, what were the clauses? Because I feel like there should be some kind of punishment for this. Maybe not, because Superman rebuilds the cottage and he does replace the furniture that him and Tony destroyed. And she still gets the consolation prize, which just seems a bit mean-spirited. It's a bride's hope chest. It's like, oh, not a newlywed? No house for you. Cottages are for newlyweds in this town. I'm right back where I started from in my romance with Superman. Well, maybe someday, after all this is forgotten. Who knows? Can we call this a romance at this point? Now, this outing is a bit different than some of the others. Let me count the ways or just say what they are. For one thing, Lois is more honest than usual with the other man she's marrying about her intentions. Even if she doesn't say that it's Superman exactly, this is far more forthright than she usually is. She's not pretending to love him or marrying him purely out of spite. The other difference is that Superman isn't shown as actively manipulating her or tricking her from the start of the story, as he often is. So it's easier to feel sorry for him in this story than some of the other outings. He's a bit more Silver Agey post-reveal, but again, it has more of a teaching her a lesson because of what occurred inside of the story and less because she just exists and dares to have feelings for him. Also, Lois is slightly less devious here, only in the sense that this wasn't initially her idea. I hope that Millie enjoys the destruction that she wrought. On the whole, this isn't one of the more interesting or outlandish tales. She's not marrying an alien or a Kryptonian for another time, or an android piloted by an old man, but it does have some highly amusing moments, such as her chucking all Superman's stuff out of the window at him. Tony and Superman's fake fight at the end is also fairly fun. As always though, these two are just a disaster in this era, and I just find it so entertaining to witness. It always makes the fact that the comic is called Superman's Girlfriend seem suspect. Superman's stalker, Lois Lane. Superman's soon-to-be ex, Lois Lane. What do you think of Lois's little jealousy scheme? Check out our playlist for more of these types of shenanigans. There are plenty. I still think that Superman using Lois as bait for the mob is one of their lowest wedding moments, but what do you think? Share your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking Saturday to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.